You guys, let me say something out loud that half the internet is scared to say. The moment Megan Thee Stallion went on Instagram and blew up the relationship with Klay Thompson, the plan was to bury Klay Thompson under a pile of memes, jokes, and hashtags. The plan was to make Klay Thompson look like a broke, washed, forgettable NBA benchwarmer that nobody would ever swipe right on again. And I promise you, right on cue, the fan army marched out with the torches and the pitchforks. But watch what actually happened next, because this one flipped in a way nobody on that side of the timeline saw coming. This is not a breakup story anymore. This is a case study in how a fan base accidentally launched the biggest free PR campaign a Bachelor athlete has ever received. And by the time we finish walking through the receipts, you're going to look at this whole situation completely differently. So sit down, lock in, and let me walk you through the mirror trap that Megan Thee Stallion just walked straight into. Let me set the table first, because context matters. Megan Thee Stallion has a big Instagram following. Megan Thee Stallion has a loyal base of followers who will show up in the comments, in the quote tweets, in the reaction videos, in the group chats, everywhere. And that base showed up. The problem is, showing up in a comment section is not the same thing as showing up at a concert. Showing up in a comment section is not the same thing as buying an album. Showing up with a hashtag is not the same thing as buying merch. So there's a strange gap that keeps showing up around Megan Thee Stallion. The engagement is loud. The ticket sales, the streams, the tangible receipts are quieter than the volume of the fan noise suggests. Keep that gap in the back of your head, because that gap is the whole reason this reversal is happening the way it is happening. That gap is a trapdoor. That gap is the reason the pylon is landing on empty air instead of landing on Klay Thompson. Now let me show you what the pylon actually looked like so nobody can accuse me of exaggerating. The internet started calling Klay Thompson broke. The internet started calling Klay Thompson a joke. There's a viral little chant floating around that when something like Klay is broke, Klay is a joke, Klay lost a game, Klay has no fame, Klay has no hoes, Klay has no goals. It rhymed. It was catchy. It got reposted 1,000 times a day. And on the surface, it looked like Klay Thompson was getting cooked in real time. But here's the first crack in the wall. You cannot call a 4-time NBA champion broke. You cannot call a future Hall of Famer washed and expect the receipts to back you up. You cannot tell the world that a man who has earned north of $300 million in guaranteed NBA money has no fame and no goals and hope that anybody with a working brain nods along. The chant was loud, but the chant was mathematically impossible. And the second the internet did the math, the whole narrative started sliding sideways. The narrative did not just slide sideways. The narrative flipped a full 180 in under 72 hours. Here's where the mirror trap kicks in, and this is the part nobody is talking about. When you attack somebody with lies that are too easy to disprove, you do not damage that person. You accidentally introduce that person to millions of people who had no reason to look them up before. Think about that for a second. Before this breakup, a huge chunk of pop culture Twitter, a huge chunk of TikTok, a huge chunk of the casual celebrity gossip crowd did not know Klay Thompson beyond the name. Klay Thompson was a Warriors guy. Klay Thompson was a Splash brother. Klay Thompson lived in the sports section, not in the gossip section. But the second fan army started chanting broke, jobless, washed, and hoeless, curious people started Googling. And when curious people Googled Klay Thompson, they did not find a broke man. They found 4 championship rings. They found an Olympic gold medal. They found a 63-point playoff game that people still talk about in reverent tones. They found a comeback story from a torn ACL and a torn Achilles that made grown men cry on national television. They found a man who quietly sails a boat named Sea Ranger to Warriors home games instead of pulling up in a rented Lumbo. They found a golden retriever named Rocco with a bigger following than most influencers. That is not a burn. That is a resume being handed out on a silver platter for free. And let me tell you exactly why this specific dynamic keeps repeating with the Megan Thee Stallion story. This is not the first time. Remember Devin Franklin. Devin Franklin is a pastor. Devin Franklin is a best-selling author. Devin Franklin is a Hollywood producer. And when that relationship went sideways, what did Devin Franklin get called on the internet? Devin Franklin got called gay. Devin Franklin got called suspect. Devin Franklin got called every dismissive label you can throw at a black man in public. Was any of it true? No. Was any of it fair? No. But that is the playbook. Whenever the man leaves, or whenever the story flips, the man gets torched by proxy, and the receipts get ignored. Look at Corey Hardrick during the split with Tia Mowry. Corey Hardrick got dragged to the mud for months. Corey Hardrick got painted as a villain, as the deadweight, as the reason the marriage failed. Fast forward, and you see the same public quietly saying, wait a minute, Corey Hardrick was actually the good one in that story. The internet always comes around. The internet always corrects. The internet just corrects late. And Klay Thompson is watching that correction happen in real time at hyperspeed because the receipts for Klay Thompson are impossible to hide. You cannot hide 4 rings. You cannot hide the Splash Brother lineage. You cannot hide an Olympic gold medal in a comment section. Now here's where the story gets spicy, and here's where the mirror really shows itself. Women online started coming to the defense of Klay Thompson. Not male fans, not sports fans. Women, regular women with no rooting interest in the Warriors. Women started popping up on Twitter, on TikTok, on Instagram Live, breaking down the situation piece by piece, and saying out loud what a lot of people were thinking quietly. Women started saying, hold on, what exactly did Klay Thompson gain from this relationship? Did Megan Thee Stallion write Klay Thompson a check? No. Did Megan Thee Stallion land Klay Thompson a sneaker deal? No. Did Megan Thee Stallion add a single ring to that finger? Absolutely not. Did Megan Thee Stallion increase the NBA value of Klay Thompson by even 1%? Not a chance. Klay Thompson is a 4-time champion. Klay Thompson is a lock for the Hall of Fame. Klay Thompson has an Olympic gold medal in the trophy case. Klay Thompson has a bank account that survives the entire music industry combined. So what exactly was a value trade here? The math ain't matting, and women online noticed the math was not matting, and the mirror got a lot brighter once the math cracks open in public. There is no gluing the illusion back together. And then the mirror cracked all the way open. Women online, again women, started listing the actual pattern around Megan Thee Stallion. Multiple public lies. A trail of failed friendships. 0 long-standing female friendships to point at. A history of falling out with label mates. Falling out with mentors. Falling out with the CEO of the label. Falling out with peers in the industry. Falling out with Nicki Minaj. Falling out with Carl Crawford. Falling out with pretty much anybody who spends more than a business quarter in close quarters. And every single time one of these fallouts happens, the timing lines up with a music release, an album cycle, a tour push, or a narrative that needs to be buried. It is a pattern. It is a repeating pattern. And once you see it once, you cannot unsee it. Once you see it, you start noticing that the sympathy campaign always arrives right on schedule, like a bus you can set your watch to. That is not victim behavior. That is a marketing calendar dressed up in a crying selfie. Let me press pause and drop something even heavier on the table. This is the part that separates fans from students of the game. Klay Thompson is not the kind of man that Megan Thee Stallion is used to dating. Klay Thompson is not a Tory Lanez. Klay Thompson is not a partisan Fontaine. Klay Thompson is not a rapper with a hit and a court date. Klay Thompson is a clean-cut, championship-decorated, Bentley-buying, door-opening, boat-sailing, $300 million athlete with international name recognition. Klay Thompson has more dating options than every man on that list combined and doubled. Klay Thompson has more options than Party Next Door. Klay Thompson has more options than any rapper you can list off the top of your head. Because Klay Thompson does not need to sell a concert ticket, does not need to drop an album, does not need to chase a hit, does not need a viral moment to eat. Klay Thompson has a guaranteed NBA paycheck and generational wealth already banked. That is a whole different tax bracket of romantic leverage, and a lot of women in this situation are not calibrated for that tax bracket. They walk in thinking they are the prize. They walk in thinking the relationship needs them more than they need it. They walk in thinking the leverage is 50-50 when the leverage is actually 90-10. And when a woman miscalculates the leverage that badly, the exit door swings open a lot faster than she expected. And once that exit door swings, there is no chant, no hashtag, no fan base big enough to swing it shut again. And here's the part that hurts a little to say out loud, but somebody has to say it. Being loud, being confident, being cute, being thick, having a big following, having a hit single, having a Grammy. None of that automatically makes you a person man like Klay Thompson locks in with long-term. Value in a long-term relationship is not the same as value in a music industry room. In a music industry room, you win with attention. In a long-term relationship, you win with peace, with loyalty, with consistency, with the ability to actually build a private life with somebody. A Bentley is tangible. 200 grand of a Bentley is tangible. Klay Thompson gave the tangible. The question that never got asked on the other side is, what was Megan Thee Stallion giving back that a man like Klay Thompson could not get from 10 other women who were quieter, cleaner, less complicated, and not carrying 3 album cycles worth of internet baggage into every dinner date? That question hangs in the air, and nobody wants to touch it because the answer stings. Let me hand you the mirror trap in one sentence, so you never forget it. The louder the fan base yelled that Klay Thompson was broke, washed, jobless, and unwanted, the more the receipts said the opposite, and the more attractive Klay Thompson became to a whole new audience that had never paid attention before. That is what a mirror trap is. You throw the punch, and the punch bounces off the glass, and the punch lands on your own face. Every single insult aimed at Klay Thompson turned into a search bar, and every search bar turned into a highlight reel, and every highlight reel turned into a new admirer. Ask yourself an honest question. How many women have looked up Klay Thompson in the last 30 days because of this drama? How many DMs are sitting in that inbox right now? How many mutuals are texting friends saying, wait, Klay Thompson is single. That is the free PR campaign. That is the accidental thirst trap the fan base built with their own hands. That is a mirror trap in full effect. And Megan Thee Stallion is standing right in front of the glass, still throwing punches, not realizing where the punches are landing. And I want you to notice something else that keeps getting missed. Klay Thompson has barely said a word. Klay Thompson did not go on Instagram Live. Klay Thompson did not drop a diss track. Klay Thompson did not send a lawyer. Klay Thompson did not tweet through the pain. Klay Thompson just kept it moving. That silence is doing work. That silence is the loudest counterpunch in the whole fight. Because while one side is screaming, chanting, Mimanji, and clip farming, Klay Thompson is on a boat, at a shoot-around, at a charity event, at a family dinner, being seen, being photographed, being praised, being invited to more rooms. Silence, when your resume is that stacked, is a flex. Silence, when the receipts already speak, is a flex. And the internet is starting to notice that too. The internet is starting to notice that the quiet man is winning the loud fight. Let me hit you with the pattern one more time, because pattern recognition is the whole game. The public always comes around. The public came around on Devin Franklin. The public came around on Corey Hardrick. The public will come around on Klay Thompson. And the public is coming around a lot faster this time, because Klay Thompson has receipts that no whisper campaign can erase. You cannot whisper away 4 championship rings. You cannot whisper away an Olympic gold medal. You cannot whisper away $300 million of earned income. You cannot whisper away a 63-point playoff game that lives on YouTube forever. You cannot whisper away the tears the entire Warriors organization shed when Klay Thompson hit the game winner in the comeback game after 2 career-ending injuries. Those things are locked in the historical record, and no chant can chant them out. No hashtag can hashtag them away. No sympathy campaign timed to an album drop can bury them. Now, let me zoom out one more time, because there's a bigger lesson buried in this whole mess that applies to way more than one athlete and one rapper. A lot of women in the modern dating market are walking around with an inflated sense of leverage because the algorithm tells them they're the prize 24 hours a day. The algorithm shows them the best angles. The algorithm shows them the loudest supporters. The algorithm never shows them the guy quietly closing the browser tab and choosing somebody less complicated. And so when a woman like that runs into a man in the Klay Thompson tax bracket, she brings dating app leverage to a private jet negotiation, and she gets outbid without ever knowing the auction was happening. Being needed and being wanted are 2 different currencies. A man will want you for a night. A man will need you for a lifetime. And if you cannot articulate what you are bringing to the table, beyond your presence, the exit door is already halfway open the moment you sit down. Klay Thompson did not need Megan Thee Stallion. Klay Thompson wanted Megan Thee Stallion for a season. Once the season ended, the math corrected itself, and no fan-base chant can uncorrect that math. Let me pull the camera back even further, because there's an entire accountability question buried under this circus that nobody wants to answer. Every time a public breakup like this happens with Megan Thee Stallion, the same choreography plays out. Step 1, Megan Thee Stallion posts something emotional on Instagram. Step 2, the fan army mobilizes and starts hunting the ex. Step 3, a wave of quote tweets rolls in about how the ex was never good enough, was using Megan Thee Stallion for clout, was a placeholder, was a phase, was a mistake. Step 4, on cue, roughly 2 to 3 weeks later, a new single drops, or a new interview lands, or a new magazine cover is announced. Step 5, the sympathy engagement gets converted into promotional lift, and the whole cycle resets. It happened with the last relationship. It happened with the one before that. It is happening with the Klay Thompson chapter right now. And every time it happens, the accountability bill quietly gets pushed off the table and onto the X0 self-examination. 0 pause. 0 moment of, hey, why does this keep ending the same way with a different man every time? That is not bad luck. That is a variable that stays constant across every equation. And in math class, the constant is the answer. And let me point at the algorithm too, because the algorithm is a silent accomplice in this whole mess. TikTok rewards outrage. Twitter rewards dog piles. Instagram rewards reaction faces. The platforms do not care whether the pylon is fair. The platforms care whether the pylon generates 7 seconds of watch time. So when a fan base locks in on Klay Thompson and starts feeding the machine feeds them more Klay Thompson content, more Klay Thompson memes, more Klay Thompson debates. And the machine also feeds Klay Thompson content to people who have never heard the name before. The algorithm cannot tell the difference between a takedown and a promotion. The algorithm only sees engagement. And engagement, positive or negative, is a promotion. So the fan base built a marketing funnel for the X and did not even know it. The fan base paid the ad bill in retweets and hashtags. That is how you accidentally hand somebody the top of the For You page while you are trying to bury them. That is a masterclass in unintended consequences, taught for free, in public, in real time. So let me bring this whole thing home for you. The breakup was supposed to be a burial. The breakup turned into a runway. The insults were supposed to shrink Klay Thompson into a punchline. The insults inflated Klay Thompson into a household name for a brand new audience that had never noticed before. The fan base thought they were dragging a man. The fan base was actually promoting a man. And Megan Thee Stallion, whether Megan Thee Stallion realizes it yet or not, just handed the X the loudest promotional push of an already legendary career. Every insult was a spotlight. Every meme was a search bar. Every clip farm was a resume drop. Every hashtag was a highlight reel. That is not a win. That is a self-inflicted loss dressed up as a takedown. That is the mirror trap in high definition. That is what happens when a fan base mistakes volume for victory. And here's my closer, because I want you to leave this video with something you can quote at the barbershop, at the beauty salon, at the group chat, at the dinner table. Klay Thompson did not lose this breakup. Klay Thompson did not even fight this breakup. Klay Thompson stood still, kept quiet, and let a fan base drag Klay Thompson straight into the timeline of every eligible admirer in the country. Klay Thompson is more visible today than Klay Thompson was a month ago, and Klay Thompson did not have to lift a finger. If that is what losing looks like, sign me up, sign every athlete up, sign every man up who has ever been dragged in public for crime of leaving a relationship that was never built to last. This is what a soft counter looks like. This is what winning without swinging looks like. So drop in the comments, because I want to hear it. Do you see the mirror trap now? Or did I just cook something you were not ready to eat? Do you think Klay Thompson comes out of this looking bigger? Or do you think the internet is going to swing the other way in the next 2 weeks? Do you think Megan Thee Stallion realizes yet that the loudest voices in that fan base just did the X the biggest favor the whole year? Tell me, argue with me, cook me back if you want. Hit that subscribe button, tap the bell, share this video with the one person who needs to see it, and I will see you on the next drop. Talk to you later. And remember, the loudest room in the argument is almost never the room holding the receipts. So keep watching so closely who stays quiet while the noise dies down and the timeline resets. Peace.